Hi, I'm LaVern Vivio. I work at the Blaze TV. You know, a cup of coffee can wake you up in the morning, but in a minute, I'm going to share with you a way to wake up in a way that you might not have ever thought of. But first, let me tell you a little bit about how I ended up at the Blaze, because a year ago, I was selling cars on a car lot in Tennessee. Not exactly my dream job, but I learned a lot and I met a lot of great people. That lasted about a year. Before that, I was a traffic reporter in Nashville, Tennessee, and actually for the last 28 years, I've been best known as traffic reporter U-Turn LaVern. My husband and I have raised 4 boys, twins that are about to graduate from college. They're graduating this winter. Our 3rd son just started college, and our youngest is just about to turn 18 and a senior in high school. And now here I am in Dallas. You know, we have talked a lot about the implied covenant in our Declaration of Independence. It was between God, we the people, and the government. And for a career-long broadcaster, this is an amazing opportunity. For a career-long broadcaster that's a big fan of Glenn Beck's, this is a dream job.
And they're made in America. Please check them out. You're going to love them. Sorry, LaVern, go ahead.
That's okay. You want jeans that fit, and you want a company that fits you right. You want a company that's going to be honest with you. And I'm a huge fan of Glenn's. I remember where I was the first time I heard him on the air. It was the same reaction I had the first time I heard Rush Limbaugh, because both of those guys were groundbreakers. They set themselves apart. And something that still sets Glenn apart, well, this is a good illustration of it. History. He is digging into history, and he's taking us along for the ride. He is correcting history that we've been misled on, and he is revealing history that we've never even been taught about. And you know, and I've looked at this painting hundreds of times, and I always thought that the wide awake banner across the top was just Glenn's interpretation of who Abraham Lincoln was at the time when he led our country. But a couple of weeks ago, he straightened us out. He said, no, actually there was a group of men that were called the Wide Awakes back in 1860, just before the Civil War, that declared themselves wide awake about what was happening in our country and how that we had to change things. And Glenn said, we need to aspire to be like the Wide Awakes of 1860. And then he said something very encouraging. I was so glad to hear him say, he said, and actually enough of us are wide awake that I think that some of our best days are ahead of us. And you know, I agree. But then he said something else. He said, while some of our best days are ahead of us, I think some of our toughest trials are ahead of us as well. And I got to tell you, I agree with that as well, because what concerns me most is that the Wide Awakes of 1860, they had an edge on us that we have got to figure out how to get as well. And they displayed it in a little medal that they wore, and Glenn's acquired one of those medals too to preserve for history. But it was a medal they wore that had on it the all-seeing eye of God and the 2 emblems that brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, the fire by night and the cloud by day. They wore it to declare, we know where our foundation is and we believe in God. We've got to have that boldness. And I know a lot of you that consider yourself wide awake about what's going on around us say, hey, I'm a person of faith, but I just don't wear it on my sleeve. But see, that's the problem. We wear it more like a family heirloom. It's just been passed down to you, and it's just what you are. And that's not really faith at all. It's not your own, and that's what we've got to find. We've got to find that boldness in faith, like they had in 1860, not just wear it on our sleeve, but on your forehead and on your heart. Not in a holier than thou boldness, but in a boldness that says, I am a child of God, and we got this. But how do we get that boldness and faith like they had? The same way we got the wide awake perspective that we have about everything that's going on around us. We educate ourselves. I'm not talking about an education based on scriptures. Of course you need that if you're a person of faith. I'm talking about an education that will allow you to answer the world that's trying to devalue your faith. Because the world knows that the key to conquering us is to take control of our faith and our worship. Just look at the history over the last 1,000 years. Years ago, they kept the Bible in translations that only the priest and those of certain social classes could understand, so the common man couldn't read it, so they could control them. In communist countries, they control distribution of Bibles. They control your worship to control the people. But here in America, the genie is already out of the bottle. You can't pull it back. So what do you do to undermine people's faith? You defame it, you devalue it, you mock it. And that's where we're going to start next time. In less than 2 minutes, I'm going to explain to you how you can shut down anybody who tries to mock the Bible and call it just an archaic book full of fairy tales. So that's where we're going to start next time. God bless and lots of Dio, y'all.